at National Geographic, my beat is populations. I'm most interested in extraordinary populations and learning their lessons. And in addition to longevity, I've done happiness, and now I'm doing healthy life expectancy. And
in the intro, I mentioned, that you're an Explorer National Geographic Fellow, and I forget about that part of your life, right? Because I see you in such a different way. With 8 billion people on the planet and so many thousands of cultures, there are so many massive experiments going on for us to learn from. We have the ability to learn now.
Yeah, and there are some that excel, and they excel in measurable ways, and ultimately there are very clear drivers of what gets them to where they are, and that's what interests me. I started my career, I set 3 world records for biking across 5 continents.
Yes, I saw that.
And my goal for all of those is I wanted to write for National Geographic.
But that was the writing for Nat Geo was your driver.
That was it. That was my X Prize in my
Wow.
mind. I want to write for National Geographic.
So what caused that in your life? For me, it was the Apollo program and Star Trek that got me started. What got you? Was it like seeing a magazine on someone's coffee table?
Yeah, we used to get National. I used to read it as a kid. And my early mentor was a polar explorer named Will Steger, who was first to reach the North Pole, and he's a Minnesota hero. Ticker tape parades type thing. And when I was in my early 20s, he was kind of my hero. Mm-hmm. An explorer is when you think of the hero's journey, the Joseph Campbell hero is the one who goes out, and it's not the hero that just leaves his or her community. They find something, they overcome their own demons and challenges, and they bring something back that betters their community at the end of it, or saves the community. Yeah. But it betters the community. So, mine is sort of a modern day. The bike rides turned out, I did the part of the journey where I left, but I wasn't really bringing back something interesting. And my editor at National Geographic, he said, everybody loves what you do around here, but if we're really looking for the type of stories that is going to improve the human condition or add to the body of knowledge. And it was that little insight. And that led me to a series of expeditions to solve ancient mysteries. I did about 16 of those, and I stumbled upon—
That's got to be fun.
That is fun. I had a team of 14 people, and twice a year we went out.
Give us an example of like one mystery to go solve.
In the greatest civilization in the Western Hemisphere until the 9th century were the ancient Maya. Mm-hmm. They figured out the length of the solar year to within 17 seconds of the figure we come up with today. They built the biggest pyramids in the world. They had a language, incredibly complex system of governance, and they mysteriously collapsed. Mm-hmm. And in 909 AD, there was no more trace of them. And what happened to them? And there was all this sort of misguided theories. And in the late 90s, I brought a multidisciplinary team with a huge online audience and did sort of a meta. There are 14 different archaeologists. They all have their own pet theories: climatic, warfare, disease. And I basically did a wisdom of the crowd. We interacted with all of them and let an audience of 1.5 million people decide what really happened. And we published that.
And the answer is?
Well, the answer is they incredibly disciplined, innovative civilization that eventually got the upper hand on agriculture. And they were able to grow a lot more food, which gave them more free time. And then the population got so big that they were exceeding the carrying capacity of their land. And it was a very fragile system. And then a little thing happened. A drought moved from Panama up to this, about Arizona, 17 miles per generation. When it hit the Central America in about the 8th century, these little droughts caused little food shortages, but that threw the whole system off because all of a sudden they weren't making enough food. That created social agitation. And all these people who would do what the king asked them to do when there was enough food, all of a sudden weren't listening anymore. And the king, under pressure, starts attacking neighboring cities for food. And then farmers, instead of being in the cornfield, are in the battlefield. And this whole system just exacerbates and it collapses.
Wow.
And it was a climatic event that triggered the whole thing, which of course makes us think about global warming today and the fragility of our 8 billion people and the food system that underpins it. So at the time, I think our theory made all kinds of national news. We did another one. I think we proved Marco Polo didn't go to China. But
really?
Yeah, there's actually pretty good evidence of it. But in 1999, the Japanese government asked us to do a mystery there, and we needed funding, and they offered to fund it. And we looked at some, Bronze Age culture disappearance, and they weren't very interesting. But then we stumbled upon this study from the World Health Organization that their southernmost islands were producing the longest disability-free life expectancy in the world. And that was Okinawa.
And that's the birth.
That's a good mystery. And that's what launched Blue Zones, actually.
Wow. That's a beautiful story, my friend.